lives inside my phone. Even though I know you're gone, some habits stay long after love leaves, like old songs hanging on broken strings. The diner lights flicker through the glass, cars drift slowly as the hours pass. I type a message then erase it again, like I've done 100 nights since then. The screen lights up my lonely face, but courage fades before I press your name. These are silent phone calls in the dark, words that never leave my heart. I dial memories instead of you, listening to echoes I already knew. The line never rings, nobody replies, just another midnight filled with whys. And every time I almost break these walls, I end up making silent phone calls. A waitress wipes tables across the room. The radio plays an old familiar tune. Outside the rain paints rivers on the street, while loneliness settles into the empty seat. I wonder if your nights are calm these days, or if you still get lost in yesterday. Maybe you've already learned to move along, while I'm still searching for where we went wrong. The distance feels larger than before, yet my hand still reaches for that door. These are silent phone calls in the dark, words that never leave my heart. I dial memories instead of you, listening to echoes I already knew. The line never rings, nobody replies, just another midnight filled with whys. And every time I almost break these walls, I end up making silent phone calls. Maybe some conversations aren't meant to begin. Maybe some endings never truly end. Maybe healing starts the night you finally let go of the voice you keep waiting to know. These are silent phone calls one last time, leaving old ghosts somewhere behind. The city keeps moving beyond the rain, and tomorrow might not feel the same. Though your number still sleeps inside these walls, I won't keep living inside missed calls. As the morning slowly brightens, all the silence answers every call. The coffee grows cold, the sky turns blue, and the phone stays quiet without you. Coffee's getting colder by the window tonight. Street lights paint their shadows across the floorboards white. I caught myself laughing at something you would say, then remembered halfway through that you've been gone for days. The neighbor's television hums behind the wall, and I still leave a space for you when evening falls. Funny how a habit stays when people disappear, like hearing your voice in rooms where you're here. Every little thought still turns your way before reality reminds me you've changed. I'm having conversations without you again, answering questions that never get sent, talking to memories like they're still alive, keeping old moments somewhere inside. You don't hear a word of these midnight confessions, but somehow I still need these imaginary sessions. Maybe letting go takes longer than I knew, so I'm having conversations conversations without you. The song we used to play came drifting through my phone. For a second it felt less like silence in this home. I almost took a picture of the sunset in the sky, then remembered you're no longer waiting for replies. The city keeps moving while I stand in between what we used to be and what we're meant to be. Everybody says that time can heal the truth, but nobody explains what to do with you. Every passing day should make it easier. Yeah, your absence somehow still feels near. I'm having conversations without you waking, answering questions that never get sent, talking to memories like they're still alive, keeping old moments somewhere inside. You don't hear a word of these midnight confessions, but somehow I still need these imaginary sessions. Maybe letting go takes longer than I knew, so I'm having conversations without you. One day these empty chairs won't feel the same. One day I'll say your name without the pain. But tonight the moon is hanging low and blue, and my heart still writes its letters back to you. I'm having conversations without you tonight, watching old reflections fade into the light. The words grow quieter with every passing moon, though I still find pieces of you in every room. Maybe healing isn't something hearts can rush through. Maybe love leaves echoes long after it's through, until the silence learns exactly what to do. I'll keep having conversations without you. The coffee's cold now, the city's sleeping too, and the last voice in this room still sounds a little like you. Dark except for the glow of the screen where your name disappeared. The silence came louder than before, after every word I didn't wanna hear. Outside the traffic faded into rain, red taillights drifting through the night. I kept staring at the ceiling fan, like somehow it could make things right. Your goodbye still lingers in the air, like a song that never really ends. I stayed awake after your last call, watching the shadows crawl across the wall. Every sentence keeps repeating in my head, every promise sounds different now. Instead, the city fell asleep, but I couldn't move on, holding on to echoes long after they were gone. The night kept turning while my heart stood still. I stayed awake after your last call. The clock kept counting moments I couldn't save. 2:37 on the bedside light. I read our old messages one more time, searching for something I missed that night. The moon hung low above the empty street, a lonely witness to the things we lost. Funny how a few short words can leave a lifetime hidden in the cost. The line went dead, but somehow I still hear the sound of you disappearing. I stayed awake after your last call, watching shadows crawl across the wall. Every sentence keeps repeating in my head, every promise sounds different now. Instead, the city last call. Maybe tomorrow the pain won't feel this loud. Maybe sunrise will break these clouds somehow. But tonight every memory pulls me back to the moment our future slipped off track. I stayed awake after your last call tonight, waiting for morning to bring a little light. Every heartbeat felt like another goodbye. Every tear disappeared before it could dry. The stars slowly faded beyond the window view, but the emptiness stayed exactly where you flew. And though the dawn arrived beyond it all, I stayed awake after your last call. Ooh. The screen went dark, the rain moved on, but sleep never came after your last call. The ocean kept whispering beside the road as headlights painted silver across the coast. The midnight radio faded into static again, and somehow it sounded like your voice in the wind. The windows were down, letting memories in. So they're mixing with everything we've been. I caught myself smiling at a joke never said, a conversation existing only in my head. The waves kept breaking against the shore like they were trying to tell me something more. We're having ghost conversations on the ocean drive. Words that never happened somehow still survive. Every mile carries echoes of another time when your name still felt like it belonged with mine. The stars above the water slowly drifted by while memories kept speaking through the night sky. And though you're gone, somehow I still hear you tonight in ghost conversations on the ocean drive. Hung low above the restless sea, a pale reflection of what used to be. Streetlights blurred into golden lines ahead, while unfinished stories replayed inside my head. No destination waiting at the end, just old emotions pretending to be friends. The silence beside me felt heavier somehow than all the things I never told you out loud. The waves kept breaking against the shore like they remembered us before. We're having ghost conversations on the ocean drive. Words that never happened somehow still survive. Every mile carries echoes of another time when your name still felt like it belonged with across the table hasn't moved for weeks. Still somehow I look up every time it creaks. The coffee cools between my restless hands, while I imagine answers you'll never understand. Outside, the rain is tapping on the glass like it's trying to bring the old days back. I keep speaking into empty air tonight, and somehow it feels less lonely than the quiet. Maybe memories don't know when to leave. Maybe hearts hold on longer than they should. We're having endless conversations again, across the distance, across what might have been. Every silence somehow turns into your name. Every night begins exactly the same. I tell you things you'll never hear out loud. I ask the questions lost inside the crowd. And though the room is empty when the daylight comes in, we're having endless conversations again. Keeps turning circles on the wall, but time doesn't seem to move at all. There's a photograph leaning by the lamp, like it's waiting for a future that never had a chance. The city lights are fading one by one, yet somehow sleep still doesn't come. I replay old words until they lose their shape, trying to find the parts I wish we could have saved. Maybe letting go isn't a single door. Maybe it's learning not to look for you anymore. We're having endless conversations again, across the distance, across what might have been. Every silence somehow turns into your name. Every night begins exactly the same. I tell you things you'll never hear out loud. I ask the questions lost inside the crowd. And though the room is empty when the daylight comes in, we're having endless conversations again. If I could send these thoughts into the dark, would they somehow find where you are? Or would they drift like smoke into the sky? Just another goodbye that never says goodbye. We're having endless conversations tonight, between the shadows and the morning light. Every memory still pulls me back somehow to promises we never figured out. Maybe one day these words will finally end. Maybe one day I'll stop reaching through the wind. But until that moment finds its way in, we'll keep having endless conversations again. The rain grows softer, the night wears thin, but the conversation never really ends. The phone rang twice before I picked it up. I already knew this wasn't about love. Your voice arrived carrying something strange. like a storm hiding behind your name. Outside the city glowed beneath the rain. Inside my room nothing felt the same. Every second stretched between each word, as if my heart already knew what I'd heard. There was a silence neither of us could break, 1,000 feelings neither dared to say. These were heavy phone calls after midnight, words falling harder than the rain outside. Every sentence carried the weight of goodbye. Every pause felt like another reason to cry. The distance grew with every breath we took. The future disappeared while we still looked to somewhere between those walls and halls. We were crushed by heavy phone calls. You spoke softly like you feared the truth could somehow hurt me less coming from you. I stared at shadows moving on the floor, trying not to understand what they were for. The clock kept ticking like it didn't care that our whole world was breaking in the air. Funny how a life can change so fast. During a conversation you wish could last, the line stayed open but we drifted apart. Two voices carrying one broken heart. These were heavy phone calls after midnight, words falling harder than the rain outside. Every sentence carried the weight of goodbye. Every pause felt like another reason to cry. The distance grew with every breath we took. The future disappeared while we still looked at somewhere between those walls and halls. We were crushed by heavy phone calls. I wanted to stop time before it moved ahead, to hold the words before they were said. But some nights arrive with no escape at all, and some endings begin with a call. These were heavy phone calls in the dark, leaving permanent shadows on my heart. The rain kept falling as the hours passed by, while pieces of forever slowly die. Now the city sleeps beneath it all, but I still hear that final call, and every memory recalls the night of those heavy phone calls. The line went quiet, the rain moved on, but something inside me never did. The call ended somewhere between goodbye and pain, leaving fragments of your voice inside my brain. The room room stood still while my world fell apart, like shattered glass buried deep inside my heart. The screen went dark, but the silence remained, an empty glow carrying your name. Outside, the city disappeared into the night, while I sat frozen beneath the pale streetlight. Some words don't fade when the line goes dead, they keep echoing inside your head. These were shattered phone calls in the dark, breaking every promise we once marked. Every sentence cut deeper than before, leaving pieces scattered across the floor. The night grew colder after you were gone, and the silence somehow lasted on and on. Now all that's left inside these walls are shattered phone calls. The clock moves slowly through the empty room, dragging shadows underneath the moon. I replayed every second, every breath, every pause, searching for a reason, searching for a cause. But some endings arrive without a warning sign, stealing forever in a single line. And some voices stay even after they leave, becoming ghosts you never stop hearing. The signal faded, but the damage stayed, a permanent scar that never changed. These were shattered phone calls in the dark, breaking every promise we once marked. Every sentence cut deeper than before, leaving pieces scattered across the floor. The night grew colder after you were gone, and the silence somehow lasted on and on. Now all that's left inside these walls are shattered phone calls. Maybe tomorrow the pain will lose its name, maybe time will soften what remains. But tonight every memory still falls apart, like broken glass across my heart. These were shattered phone calls late at night, turning every future out of sight. The stars above kept shining all the same, while everything below them changed. And though the dawn eventually arrives for all, I still hear those shattered phone calls, somewhere between the silence and the fall. Those shattered phone calls. The signal is gone, the room stands still, but the echo remains, and always will. I found your voicemail hiding in my phone tonight, buried beneath months of trying to be alright. The timestamp looked like it belonged to someone else, a version of us sitting on a forgotten shelf. Your laughter arrived before the message began, like a doorway opening to who I was back then. The room suddenly felt smaller than before, as reflected softly through the speaker once more. Funny how a few old seconds can remain long after everything else has changed. That old voicemail feels colder without you. Every word sounds different now that we're through. The warmth inside your voice has turned into a ghost, and somehow that's what hurts the most. I close my eyes and let the memory play, hearing pieces of a life that slipped away. And every time that old recording calls me through, that old voicemail feels colder without you. You said you'd call again tomorrow afternoon. You said we'd finally make those weekend plans soon. Neither of us knew how fragile time could be, or how fast forever becomes history. The city lights reflected softly on the wall, while your voice echoed through the quiet hall. A simple message from another year now feels like something impossibly sincere. The words stayed exactly as they were before, only my heart changed while listening once more. That old voicemail feels colder without you. Every word sounds different now that we're through. The warmth inside your voice has turned into a ghost, and somehow that's what hurts the most. I close my eyes and let the memory play, hearing pieces of a life that slipped away. And every time that old recording calls me through, that old voicemail feels colder without you. Maybe one day I'll finally erase the file and stop revisiting these miles and miles. But tonight I let it play one final time, like a photograph fading in my mind. That old voicemail feels colder without you tonight. The voice is still the same, but something isn't right. The years between us quietly appear inside every pause I used to hear. The message ends, the silence settles in. The room becomes the room it's always been. But for a moment I believed your voice was true. Before the voicemail ended without you. Message saved 3 years ago. Your voice remains, but you don't. The boulevard was glowing underneath the rain. Neon colors dancing on the windshield again. Your voicemail played softly through the speakers tonight, like a ghost refusing to leave the light. Every traffic signal turned from red to green, while old memories flickered through the scene. The city kept moving without looking back, and I wondered why I was still stuck on our track. Your voice filled the silence one last time before I finally crossed that line. I'm burning voicemail on the boulevard tonight, watching old shadows disappear into the lights. Every word you left behind is turning into smoke, floating through the city where my heart once broke. The road keeps pulling me beyond what we were, past every memory that still hurts. And somewhere beneath these glowing stars above, I'm burning voicemail, burning love. The skyline shimmered through the midnight haze, like 1,000 photographs from better days. I held my breath and listened to the final tone, knowing this was how I'd finally let go. The message ended, then the silence came, not empty, just different than before the pain. For the first time, the future didn't seem so far, waiting somewhere beyond the boulevard. Your voice became another passing light, fading slowly into the night. I'm burning voicemail on the boulevard tonight, watching old shadows disappear into the lights. Every word you left behind is turning into smoke, floating through the city where my heart once broke. The road keeps pulling me beyond what we were, past every memory that still hurts. And somewhere beneath these glowing stars above, I'm burning voicemail, burning love. Maybe healing doesn't happen all at once. Maybe it begins with a single touch, a button pressed beneath the dashboard glow, choosing at last to let the past go. I'm burning voicemail on the boulevard tonight. The city stretches endless in my sight. Your voice is gone, but somehow I remain stronger than I was inside the pain. The dawn is waiting somewhere down this road beyond the weight I've always carried alone. And as the skyline slowly rises above, I'm burning voicemail, burning love. Message deleted. The engine hums. The city moves forward. And so do I. The calendar turned another year last night. Snow-colored clouds drifted through the morning light. I passed the cafe where we used to stay, and noticed how the memories felt farther away. The streets were quiet underneath the dawn. The world kept moving even after you were gone. Funny how the things that once ordinary after all. The winter air still carries your name, but it doesn't hurt quite the same. We never talked after December. No final words, no grand surrender. Just two hearts drifting into different skies without a reason, without goodbyes. The seasons changed, the months rolled through, and life kept teaching me how to lose you. Though sometimes your shadow still returns in the weather. We never talked after December. I found an old photograph inside a drawer, the kind that would have broken me before. Now I can smile at who we used to be, without wishing for what could never be. The city shines beneath the softer light, different from those sleepless winter nights. Somewhere between the silence and the years, the sadness slowly disappeared. Time didn't heal everything at once, it simply carried me forward. We never talked after December. No final words, no grand surrender. Just two hearts drifting into different skies without a reason, without goodbyes. The seasons changed, the months rolled through, and life kept teaching me how to lose you. Though sometimes your shadow still returns in the weather. We never talked after December. And maybe that's okay now. Not every story needs a final page. Not every ending needs explaining. Some people become a season of your life. We never talked after December tonight, yet somehow everything feels alright. The road ahead is finally clear to see, and there's no part of you still holding me. The sunrise paints the city gold and amber, a different world than last December. And as the morning stretches out forever, we never talked after December. The winter fades, the daylight grows, and somewhere far behind